Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juani Soto. Let's have some fun today. 17 days away from Raiders football. We have college football in just 3 days.
Yeah.
That's how close we are. Last preseason game Friday, an actual real week 0 college football game Saturday. Little weekend off of NFL, week 1 of college, and then bam! Raiders kick off against the Chargers.
I told you guys. I freaking told you guys when it was like 100, 102, 90 something. I said, just wait. It seems like it's a long way away, but before you know it, it's going to start because the NFL just plays this just perfectly to constantly slow feed you news, slow feed you things, slow feed you landmarks. Before you know it, it's here.
You told us when it was 102 days. In just 85 days, we'll be 17 days away. You told us, Soto, and you hit it exactly correctly.
I don't understand how I'm so right all the time.
You mathed so good. And I can feel it, right? I'm starting to get the emails, like the fantasy football league drafts are like on the calendar, downloaded the Yahoo fantasy football app. There's so many things that make it feel real. And I feel like the fantasy, like you put in your calendar, fantasy football draft, don't be a freeloader, fantasy football draft, UFC, fantasy football draft, fucking college buddies. And it's in the calendar. You're like,
it's there.
It's over there.
It's there.
So
it's actually there. What the hell?
What'd you do?
I don't know.
Is that avatar of a cat the default setting for when this breaks, or did you choose to have a cat?
It's a default setting.
Oh, man. How perfect is that? Is that why you chose this program? Because it's a cat? To God. Even your computer cat infiltrates our show. Soto, even a cat from your computer will find a way into this show. That's unbelievable.
I don't know what the fuck happened.
Catman all the way through. All right, question of the day. You did a live video whilst I was out of country when they named Gardner Minshew the starting quarterback. He will be QB1 17 days from now. We'll kick off against the Chargers. I'll post a link. Make sure you guys check it out for the full breakdown. So our question of the day, did Gardner Minshew win the job? Did Aidan O'Connell lose the job? Or, someone has to play quarterback. We'll post it pinned at the top of the comment section. Let us know. Question of the day. Neither one. Oh, go ahead.
I firmly believe that Gardner Minshew won the job.
Okay.
I was going over like just last season, and then I was going over his previous seasons and how just things shaked out for him. And he's a lot better than people give him credit for. Mm-hmm. The issue is he just like what you say, you can't shake your draft position like a first rounder. Mm-hmm. He couldn't shake that 6th rounder draft position. He was never really given the opportunity, and mostly by circumstance.
Yeah.
So let me go through it. Okay. Rookie season, drafted by Jacksonville. They give Nick Foles a ton of money coming off a Super Bowl, right? Beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, gives this guy a ton of money, okay? You're a backup. First quarter of the first game, Nick Foles goes down out for the season. Minshew goes in, plays pretty good, okay? Over 3,000 yards, I think it was a 2-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio. He's got a good turnover ratio. I think it's almost 2-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next season, doesn't get to start again because Nick Foles is back healthy. He couldn't really show what he can do. He played a few games the second season because Nick Foles just wasn't good, right? And he ended up backing up Trevor Lawrence, I believe, because they were that bad. with Nick Foles that they got the first pick.
Mm-hmm.
So you draft Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall, you're going to play him. It's nothing bad on Minshew. It's just you have the first pick. You have a guy who's touted as one of the best quarterback prospects in a decade or more. You're going to play the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Moves over to Philly. He goes to Philly to be a backup to an incumbent Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts doesn't do anything to lose the job. It was his job. He didn't go in there to fight for the position or anything like that. Jalen Hurts stayed healthy, didn't get hurt. Okay, fine. Follows Steichen to Indy. He's like, I need you to help this young rookie guy. He beats him out in camp, but Jim Irsay says, no, I want my rookie top 5 pick to start. I don't want Gardner Minshew to start. I want the guy that I drafted. I want him to start.
Mm-hmm.
It maybe call it the whole Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck thing. We drafted a guy high. We want to take him. We want to play him. Nothing against him. This is the first opportunity he's had to actually win a job because there was actually a job to win.
It's his first time starting in week 1 in the NFL ever. So he's in a position where he's like the guy for the first time ever, which kind of makes it less fun because I feel like Minshew Mania is most fun off the bench, you know? So even if they're like, all right, Minshew's the guy, let's start Farva for 4 games and then have Minshew come in week 5 because it'll be more fun. I mean, that's your explanation is as good as any I've heard because Minshew certainly didn't earn the job on what we saw at practice or in preseason. He didn't.
Well, we went at practice.
Well, from all the things we've read at practice,
we
right?
went at practice. Don't say that if you didn't see it.
Okay, there's been media members that counted every pass.
You don't know. You know how
I
feel about the media, dude.
Okay, it's not their analysis. It's straight up. Minshew went, 10 for 22 with 2 interceptions or whatever, right? Like it was line itemed, and it wasn't.
That
great.
happened. I think 1 practice. We got line item for 1 practice.
We've only done it on the show 1 time. That doesn't mean it wasn't out there constantly, right?
I've only seen 1.
Okay, well, I have.
I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you say things that aren't true.
I am saying things that are true. Just because I didn't do it on the show or show you doesn't mean I didn't read it. He was not great at practice by every single person that was there.
All right.
Period.
RJ.
Okay. Everyone, your mysterious imagination is more valid than every single person at that practice that openly talked about
I don't know why you're being so defensive about this.
Well, because you're making like, well, I don't trust the media. It's like, well,
no, you get so defensive when I say stuff like that. Why are you so defensive?
Because when they write out, Minshew did X, Y, and Z, and you're getting that from 7 different media sources that are there.
Is it 7? Did all 7 do the same thing?
Yeah. I don't think so. Did you hear anyone say Minshew did great during practices of the preseason? Did he crush it at OTAs or anything? It was all like, here's what he did. No one really.
That still doesn't answer why you're getting so defensive. I'm not saying anything against you personally, like
because I got to take 2 minutes of this show to tell you. Explain over and over again. Okay, all right, you don't believe this data that I'm giving you. I'm gonna have to spend 2 minutes to explain the data. This was line by line. We got it multiple times.
I don't know that setting
these
something
media members said this, and this. Okay,
I don't know that setting something up is the proper time to like shit on someone. Like you're setting this up. It just seems very like staged. Like you're looking to drop a hammer on this guy. That's what it sounds like.
I am repeating what objective third-party media members are saying at practices. Now, you can assume that's me trying to stage or bash him. I am simply repeating what was reported. You're saying it's me bashing. I am simply repeating what was written. I think it sounds
like it because I know you, and I know you like to set stuff up like that.
I'm repeating what they said. And you can use your imagination and think it's something else.
If you say
that's what I did. All I said was,
I believe you then. I believe
every objective media member has said this about him there.
And I said, I believe you.
Okay. And then we saw him in the preseason, which, am I setting something up? Am I dropping a hammer here?
RJ,
you watched him play in the preseason.
Dude, let's not do this because I just said,
you open the door. You're telling me I'm trying to drop a hammer and
then I said, I believe you.
Okay.
I said, I believed you. If
So
you want
I
to
think
keep
we can.
going and make this kind of show today from the very fucking beginning,
You
and I
opened
said
the door,
fine.
Soto.
I
It
said
wasn't
fine. I
me.
believe
You
you.
opened the door.
I said
Okay.
fine. I believed you. I
So let's keep
believe
walking
you.
through the door.
Do you want to be shitty? Do you want to be shitty, or do you want to make
You
a show?
opened the door.
It's up to you. Because I said fine. I said okay.
Okay. So let's move. Let's walk through it then. Preseason, we watched him play. Nothing to write home about. Didn't, AP was asking for someone to grab the QB1 and say, this is mine, and make a definitive statement. Can we agree Minshew nor Favre did that, right? Neither one of them drastically outplayed the other. Now you can say, I liked this more about Minshew. I liked this more about Aidan O'Connell. And we can have the debate on, who we think should have it. I don't think either quarterback won the job on the field or in practice. So to start this over again, I'm with you, Soto, in that you saying, look, his long track record is actually better than I think what a lot of people give it credit for. That to me sounds like as logical of an explanation as any, because from all reports we got at practice, from everything we saw in the preseason, all the video we saw from OTAs, the video from practices, the 2 open practices they had at Allegiant Stadium, that was a lot of film on it. Minshew didn't grab the job. And again, neither did Favre. Plus, I think also we kind of outsmarted ourselves over time, because when they signed him to 20 or 25, anyway, 15 million
25.
guaranteed, 25, 15 guaranteed. How often does someone come in, not a high paid quarterback, but 15 million versus whatever pennies we're paying Favre, and the pennies guy wins out in the starting job? It happens. Not often. So I remember I was giving the tiebreakers to Favre, like, look, we don't know what his ceiling is, so that's kind of a plus. Like, more play he gets,
I think we've kind of seen it
better. You think we've seen the best of Favre? You don't think he's going to get better?
I think he is who he is, man. I think he can get better at what he does, but
that's what I mean. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna turn into a running quarterback with a howitzer.
No, I don't mean that. He's not going to be the type of player that is a long-term starting quarterback. I think he's what you and I thought he was last season, a good backup quarterback.
I still think that, but I think with only half a season under him, under like some of the worst conditions possible, Josh McDaniels thrown in there last second, 4th rounder. I want to see more before I make the definitive. But again, I've seen no reason to think he's anything more or less than what we've guessed. But I think we see more of him to know that definitively. So,
I mean, look, the reason I say that, it's AP's inexperience is showing in that he's not only is he running an offense in the preseason that he's not going to run in the regular season, right? He's not going to throw the ball 50 fucking times in the game.
Well, no, I'm still glad they did, though, because he was trying to find his quarterback. You know what I mean? So, like,
Well, I mean, look, how are you going to find a plumber by having them work on your roof? Like, you get them to do things that they're going to do in the game, and a lot of that stuff, throwing the ball that much, you're not giving yourself a fair assessment of how this is going to run when you actually run your offense the way you're supposed to run it.
Sure, but you're only going to get so many snaps with a quarterback, right? And you don't want 60% of them to be just handing the ball off. You want them to be throwing the ball. And if anything, I think that's a better way to assess them, because you're
12 times,
because you're putting them
in 50 passes.
Because you're already putting them behind the 8 ball a little bit, right? If you're making it harder on them, I think that's a nice way to kind of gauge where they're going to be. Because you're like, all right, you're
opinion, I guess
you're running with the weight vest. I'm glad that I'm with you 100%. Like, we should be running the ball 55% of the times.
It's not just that, though. It's not just that. Is you're not going to ask him to do these things. Why are you going to, like? I get it. You should be picking the person that's going to win the most games for this team. If you're not going to, you're asking these guys to throw the ball way too much, man. It's not a true representation, is what I'm trying to say. Because neither one of these guys are like shotgun 40 times a game. That's not who these guys are. They're not Josh Allen.
And
they're not Joe Burrow.
And I get what you're saying, where it's like, look, we'll be running the ball a lot more, which will set up the play action better, and the circumstances will be different. Like, I'm with you there, but it's not like they ran plays that they weren't going to run in the season. It's like we want them to throw the ball as much as possible with the limited snaps we get in the preseason. I was fine with how they ran it. And two, it's like, do we really want to like show exactly what our offense looks like in the preseason? Like, go pass happy and see, get as many throws out of our quarterback battle as possible. I don't live or die either way by that scenario, but I understood why they ran the plays that they did. So for me, it's like, yeah, I think it was all the intangibles going in, and it wasn't so much what we saw on the field. I think AP, when he said, like, look, after the Cowboys game, we'll make a decision. I don't think it was the Cowboys game that decided it. It's kind of like, all right, this is kind of how we feel, and we have no reason to change. So I think look, he's better. Like you said, I think he's better than the league gives him credit for. The last season, he was like 28th rated. Like, it wasn't a great season last season, but I think he's better than what the general public thinks of him. He's paid 15 times more, and that's generally who starts at quarterback. And O'Connell didn't grab it. Like, O'Connell didn't do anything to be like, I'm the man either.
My huge thing with O'Connell is, and he went 5-4 under AP, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went 5-4 under AP with the best scoring defense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not a vote of confidence for you as a quarterback, being able to put up points if you have the best scoring defense in the league and you're barely over 500.
Well, that goes exactly what I'm saying. Is they're kind of going on who they've been in the past, as opposed to we're going to watch you in the preseason and make a decision from there.
Well, like, let me finish, because the things that I said that O'Connell needed to improve on, he didn't improve on. He needs to get better at pushing the ball down the field. I'm not saying throw it deep. I'm not saying throw it 25, 30 yards downfield, but over 10 yards downfield, he still showed that he was inaccurate. Mm-hmm. And he showed that those numbers when I made that video about why the media hates the Raiders. A lot of the things didn't line up. A lot of the way that we played offense last season, the teams that played closest to us were like bottom dwelling teams in the standings. Mm-hmm. So we had to have not only the top scoring defense in the league, but the top turnover ratio team in the league as well, in order to make short fields, because O'Connell wasn't able to sustain long drives as many times as needed to score points to win games. And he didn't show that he was able to kind of push through that. He showed a lot more of the same that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, I think we're in the same ballpark here. It's like I think AP made the decision, and instead of, it was Getsy, AP, and Telesco that all kind of came together. I wonder how much Mark Davis had input. I don't think they'd admit one way or the other if he did, but I'd be curious. I'd be curious if Mark Davis like knocked on the door and said, "Where are you guys going? Where are you guys going with quarterback? I kind of want to. I'm thinking about this guy, or I'm thinking about that guy." I'd be very curious to be a fly on the wall if Mark Davis walked in and like.
Honestly, dude, like looking at their history, I honestly think that AP gave the decision as long as they did, so O'Connell can take it. Because if you just take a look at who they've been, I mean, we showed that stat when we just signed Minshew. He's got better stats than Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence just got fucking pizzade. And he's got better stats than him. So it's like, if you just look at that and the fact that he's going to be more comfortable in the offense, because, I mean, to O'Connell's credit, when we saw him running the Josh McDaniels offense, he had already been in that offense for off-season, training camp, and like 2 months of the season before we saw him. This is him just learning a new system. So he's not at that point of familiarity with the system yet. Can he get there? Maybe. But there's still that question of certain things that he hasn't been shown that he's able to do, or he hasn't shown that he's able to do, But yeah, it just sounds like, the more I look at it from that perspective, it sounds like he waited for O'Connell to take the job, and he just never showed that he was going to, and so he gave it to Minshew.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm leaning more shit. Someone has to play quarterback because it was kind of like neither one of the guys knocked anyone's socks off. But also Minshew benefited from a lot of circle. Like I thought the tiebreaker would go to O'Connell simply because the youth and like we don't know for sure what the ceiling is. But I didn't think about the other intangible. Like I forgot about like the other intangibles. Right when we signed Minshew, I was like, oh, that's probably who we're going to have 25 million, 50 million guaranteed. I mean, it's not big quarterback money, but it's way more than Farva. It's a commitment.
And the thing is that's across the league too, because in the Giants hard knocks on the offseason, their GM, what the fuck's his name? Joe Shane. He was like, oh yeah, Minshew's going to be too expensive. He's going to get 20 million a year. That's what they were saying on the show. Like that's what the league saw him as. Mm-hmm. They didn't see him as just some slapdick guy you throw on the freaking at the end of the bench under a young guy. He was looked at as a guy who can come in here and start.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I don't feel like Minshew came in and won it. Farva certainly didn't come in and win it. I think it was all the intangibles. It was the money. It was what he's done already. And also we might be out 3 offensive linemen, 3 starting linemen week 1, potentially. Right. So it's like, you kind of want a guy that can move in that situation, which we definitely know who's better between the two in that one.
Bro, God bless him, dude. God bless freaking Farva. He figured did that rollout to get away from pressure, and he threw that ball like fucking 6 yards short. I was like, oh God. It looks pretty good running the ball. Look at this. Oh. Nope. Not good throwing the ball on the run.
Nope. Yeah, that was
Vikings.
His worst throw was the pick 6. That was probably his second worst throw. Just awful. You're like, oh fuck yeah, he's moving it. Yeah. So you're saying Minshew won. I said more like someone has to win the position. I put it as a poll question on the YouTube. 17% of you said Gardner won the job. Or this. Let's reset this to update it. Updated votes. 18% of you said Gardner won the job. 16% of you said Aidan lost the job. 66% of you said shit, someone has to play quarterback. And I think that goes with because like we didn't see Gardner take the job on TV, right? Seems to be something brewing underneath.
Do you think that God damn it.
Your memory is working like mine today.
Yeah. Davante Adams. Do you think Davante Adams was consulted?
Consulted, no. But I think if Davante knocked on the door and has been like, let me give you my 2 cents, I think they would for sure listen. And I think genuinely would listen. I don't think it would be like, let's pretend to listen because he's a veteran. I think there'd be like some genuine, like, you're not making the decision, but I will accept your counsel.
Kind of like, hey, we're gonna go with Minshew. What are your thoughts? Cool. Let's go with it. I like it. I'm good with it. Let's get some extra throwing in.
If they were smart,
they've been doing extra throwing. Yeah.
If they were smart, they'd be like immediately after Farva threw that pick 6, they ran over to Davante. Be like, hey, we're gonna go with Minshew. Be like, okay. Like timing's everything. Timing's everything in this game.
You can get away with a bad ball if it's on time, but you can't throw a bad ball and have it be late.
Yeah, if it's an amazing play by the DB, it's like, all right, some things, but it was when it's that bad. So I've been thinking about this for a while. The Raiders aren't getting a lot of love this preseason for a lot of reasons, and some of them valid. We don't have a sexy quarterback situation by any means. Like, that's fair. But also some not valid reasons. So I don't know who these hosts are. It was just from the Ring. I don't listen to anything from the Ringer. Not that the Ringer's bad. I'm not trying to bash them. It's just I only have so much bandwidth to read stuff. But I saw this on Twitter, and they were talking about who has the worst situation in the NFL currently. Take a listen.
Is there a worse team to be a fan of right now than Las Vegas?
Probably the Panthers because people care about the Raiders.
But at least you have like we have the number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young still could be the guy. What do you have in Vegas right now?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I increasingly keep thinking because like every year there's a team that kind of crashes to top 5 that you don't necessarily see coming. You know what I keep thinking about the Raiders is on the night of the draft, we asked on our draft show like which is a player that will be great, but will probably have to get to their second team to be fantastic. And I keep wondering if we're gonna look at the Brock Bowers Raiders
Don't
era as
say
this
it.
weird lost. You know what I mean? But I just think the Raiders, this team doesn't have a plan. It's all like this Frankenstein hodgepodge of different eras and decision makers. And
I don't know. So ultimately, look, I agree that things aren't looking great for the Raiders right now. And Minshew looked awful, and it was bizarre that they immediately named him the starter after that. But I will say, especially if you look at like what he did last year, I think he will feed the stars of this offense. He's going to feed.
But last year, Shane Steichen was the coordinator for the Colts, the head coach and coordinator for the Colts. Now it's what Luke Getsy with the Raiders.
True.
Like those are different people.
Those are in fact different people.
They're different people.
We got one thing right. Those are two different human beings. Well done, podcaster. And so this is what I mean when I say like the perception of quarterback is all people look at. Take out quarterback for a second. Don't even think about quarterback with the Raiders for a second. We're in great shape. We're in great shape. Pro bowlers on both sides of the ball. Two of the best kickers in the league. Stout defensive line. No like giant holes on defense at all. Weapons galore. Third youngest team in football. 30 million under the cap. When you go to these national writers, they like look at quarterback and that's it. It's like quarterback and then blinders. That's all they see.
It's these guys are like fair weather guys. Like they're just guys that just skim across what other people write. There was no mention of the surrounding cast to Gardner Minshew being light years better than what he had with the Colts.
Mm-hmm. One of the dudes did, in fairness, be like, look, I think he'll get the ball to his weapons, which is kind of what we want, right? We're not asking Minshew to throw the ball.
Sure, but I mean,
so one guy kind of
what does that mean, though? Normal. What does that mean? You get your ball to your weapons, not, well, when he gets the ball to his weapons now in Vegas, the weapons he has to throw to are much better than what he had with the Colts.
Mm.
If he plays the same way he played with the Colts last season, he's going to have a better offense. Just because the players he's throwing to are a lot better.
Yeah. So this is what I mean about national media, just kind of looking at quarterback and just like ignoring everything else. The Raiders are like, look, quarterback aside, Raiders are in great shape. And this I've been thinking about for a while. This was inspired. I randomly I don't listen to Ron Russillo quite as much as I used to, but a couple weeks ago he did like, the worst quarterback situations in football. And I'm going through it and I'm like, the Raiders aren't bad. Or they're not the worst quarterback situation in football when you add context, when you add investment, when you add how can you get out of a situation, when you add how can you pivot. There are some teams that are entrenched in awful quarterback situations that I would never want to trade positions with them. And that's what I think of when I think, all right, who's got the worst quarterback situations in the NFL? It's all right, who would I rather not be with? And when you consider, like, we only have 15 million guaranteed invested in Minshew, which is nothing. Farva's on his rookie deal, and as a fourth rounder, like, I think Farva has to pay the Raiders at this point. He's paid so little. I think he pays the Raiders. It's like six figures or like million 1 point something. Nothing. They can get out of our quarterback situation like that with no issues, nothing invested, nothing wasted. You look at the Giants, right? Daniel Jones keeps getting hurt and he sucks. $160 million contract. The Browns, Watson, $230 million guaranteed. They gave up 3 firsts, a third, and a fourth for him. And he played 12 games last season. He looked like shit. He was the 3rd rated quarterback on the Browns last season. That's how bad he played.
It's bad, dude.
Panthers, Bryce Young, only 1 year, but he looked like shit on a shit team. And you wasted a number 1 overall pick if that doesn't pan out. And the Cardinals, like Kyler Murray, when was the last time he was good? 2021? 5-year, $230 million in Kyler Murray. You're not getting out of that. So I would much rather be the Raiders than any of those 4 teams because the Raiders, like you said, Minshew, I think, been vastly underrated by the NFL. And if it doesn't work out, he's gone. We lost basically nothing. Basically nothing invested if this quarterback situation doesn't work out. Other guys could end up in worse quarterback situations, and there's no way out. There's so much money and equity has been put into it.
There's a couple other teams out there that are pretty rough. You take a look at Seattle. Seattle has 3 really good receivers. No running backs that can stay healthy. Offensive line is their interior offensive line is god awful. Like their big signing was freaking Tomlinson from the Jets, who couldn't even crack that freaking ragtag bunch of offensive linemen's roster. Geno Smith showed who he was after that breakout season 2 years ago. He showed who he was last year. That's not a great situation there. The Saints are a really fucked up situation just because of their salary cap. I'm not talking about any of the players there, but their salary cap situation, you can't kick the can down the road this much with such high-end players making so much money. I think it's something weird, so like old. Old to players, like 5 or 6 of their players are like 80% of their freaking cap. It's ridiculous over there.
They're the Rams without like the richest man in the world money and without a Super Bowl contention. Like they did what the Rams did, just worse and without success.
The Rams now, anything, a freaking mosquito lands on Stafford's neck and that team is in shambles. They have receivers fine, but you're going to throw Stetson Bennett out there and to freaking throw the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw the ball for you if you're the Rams. Like, how long does this? They don't want it. They barely extended Stafford because he was probably going to try to hold out or hold in, I guess. And they gave him a little bit more guaranteed money this season. But after this season, what are you going to do if you're the Rams? Stafford is too good for you to be like at the top of the first round to grab a quarterback. You're going to be probably in the middle of the pack again. You're not going to be able to get a quarterback next year. You have Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett. What are you going to do when you lose probably the best player you've had for your entire franchise, retired, and you didn't really do anything to replace him on the inside? It's a lot of other teams out there, and I just named a couple off the top of my head and their situation. Yeah. It's not all doom and gloom here in Vegas.
Well, and even like some of those examples, like I'd rather still like have Stafford and try one more time in a Super Bowl before he's like overly old. But those situations aren't much better, right? Like even if there are some positions, like I'd rather be there this season than here this season. It's not a big difference, right?
Take Maxx away from the Raiders. That's what the Rams have right now.
The Rams are like, there's a lot of teams that are like barely better situation than the Raiders. There's 4 for sure that I named them. Like I would much rather be the Raiders than the Giants. Certainly Cleveland. They're the
2 years ago, people were talking about Geno Smith the way they're talking now about Gardner Minshew. And he went out there in a good situation, and he went out there and he made it happen.
And then you've got a bunch of teams that are pushed all their chips into the center on their first round quarterbacks, which again, I would rather be in those situations, but half those guys aren't going to work out. Right? Like I wish we had Caleb or Jaden or Drake. Of course I do.
I would be surprised if only 3 panned out. I would be very surprised. I understand the mathematics, but more often than not, like you have
history would dictate, but then you can this is what history and math say. But you can do the tape, right?
You have the Tua Herbert draft where like more guys panned out than not. Yeah. But I mean, over
the last 20 years, it's about 50%. But you can say, like, look, I think this draft class different. Although I will say, like, 3 quarterbacks got drafted way higher than they should have because of the run on quarterback. So there's that other element to it.
I don't know. Let's listen to these guys talk about Bo Nix. He should have been the first pick overall, right?
Just blowing him. But again, like, would I rather be in those situations? Yes, but those aren't guaranteed situations. Half-ish, right? Whatever number we want to come up with, they're not going to work out. And not only that, now you have a first-round quarterback or a number 1, number 2, number 3 overall quarterback that you are now committed to for X number of years. And when you draft that high of a quarterback, your offense is completely built around that quarterback. So if it doesn't pan out, not only are you having to get out of a 4-year commitment to a quarterback, you're going to have to completely change the offense. Your offensive coordinator probably gets fired. You whiff on a quarterback that high, there's a good chance your GM, head coach get fired. Again, I'd rather be there, but they're not guaranteed great situations. These guys, if they have to dig themselves out of a hole to get out of their quarterback situation. We just step over a pebble, and whatever our quarterback situation, we're done. No commitment whatsoever.
Yeah, the whole freaking Brock Purdy thing doesn't happen, dude. Like, everyone in San Francisco was saved by Brock Purdy because they moved up for Trey Lance, and he was a freaking bust with them, and Brock Purdy saved them. If not for that, they may be gone. If Brock Purdy's not on the roster, those guys both may be gone. Lynch and Shanahan may be gone from San Francisco.
As you should be, for gambling that much and missing, right? Like you really should be. So
it's crazy weird, man. It's weird to think about, two of the most highly respected guys at their positions in the NFL right now. But that one decision, their last draft pick, of that draft, they pick a guy that ends up being their starting quarterback and a pretty damn good quarterback when he wasn't supposed to be. He was supposed to be another guy they picked and they moved up and traded a bunch for that ended up not panning out. And that little thing, that little, butterfly effect changed the way the league looks at these two guys when you're looking at a throwaway pick, basically.
And they would have been like the Giants, Cleveland, Panthers, Cardinals, with invested all this shit, even more so, right? Well, other than the Browns, but like 3 first-rounders to get a guy. He doesn't pan out. You're without those first-round picks. You still owe him first-round money. He royally and properly fucked.
I think the Browns are like, maybe we should get a massage therapist. You feel a lot better when he was loose. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I mean. Where like I do get why the national media looks at our quarterback situation and like, look, you have 32 teams you have to spend time on. You're spending 1/32 of your time on the Raiders. Like, it's not a sexy situation at quarterback for sure. Like, it's hard to get excited for the Raiders quarterback situation. I think that's fair to get excited about it. Upon further examination, you're like, okay, we're in a pretty good situation. When you compare a little more depth to what's going on with us at quarterback, and you compare it to how invested some of these other teams are and how they cannot pivot. It's going to take them 2 to 3 years to get out of the quarterback hole they've dug themselves in. Our situation, like, it's certainly not sexy, but it's completely risk-free. And I think, and like we've talked about all show, I think Gardner Minshew is seriously undervalued in the league. Like, it's not atrocious, man.
I don't know if he's undervalued in the league. I think he's undervalued by media and content creators. I think the league knows who he is.
Well, if we only had 15 million guaranteed, I think he's better than that.
I think he's better than that, but he hasn't had a chance to show it. Mm-hmm. Now that he's given the chance from the very beginning, he can be looked at as a starting quarterback in the league, as opposed to a journeyman. Like the whole Rich Gannon thing, the whole Jim Plunkett thing. Those guys that were just kind of bouncing around here and there. Jim Plunkett gets hurt. He could bounce around from New England to San Francisco, doesn't play an entire season, one season, and then comes to the Raiders and starts and, takes off from there. Same thing with Gannon. He had like 6 starts in like the last 3 years he was with the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. He was a backup. I don't know what Gruden saw in him, but whatever he did, he was able to bring out the best. And he signed him, and he's a 33-year-old guy that's been bounced around the league for freaking 11 years.
2 seasons later, NFL MVP.
Yeah, so it's like, is it probable? No, but per season, per like appearance, and I know it's different eras, and it's very difficult to do this, but Minshew has very comparable play to these other guys. He definitely has a much better touchdown to turnover ratio than the other 2 guys had. They were Plunkett was well, underwater as far as that goes. He had like 80-something touchdowns and like 115 interceptions when he came to the Raiders. Mm-hmm. And Gannon was about 50-50. But, Minshew's 2-1. And
Minshew's got way better weapons than Plunkett did. I think Rich probably had better weapons than
Plunkett had some decent weapons. He had some guys, but
decent.
We had the guys. But look,
we got weapons.
Yeah, so that's there's a lot of context, and I don't want to over contextualize this because I don't want to seem like, oh, I'm a freaking homer or whatever, because I do want to be objective about the Minshew thing, but I do think he's chronically undervalued by a lot of people who are just looking at him as a throwaway surface level, just okay, this guy's a career backup type of guy.
This was my big thing that I was thinking about too, is like, how many more games do we win or lose, whether it's Minshew or Farva under center? I don't think it's that drastically different. Now, you want to have, even if one quarterback's 0.1% better, you want to give yourself every possibility, right? So that's not what I'm saying here, but I'm saying, is the difference between the two quarterbacks? Is it the difference in one game? 2? 0? Like, I don't know if it's drastically different.
There's a nuanced answer to that. That's the thing is, you can do a lot more and you can open up your playbook a lot more to what I think Luke Getsy wants to do with this offense with someone like Gardner Minshew under center. You can do more boots, you can do more rollouts, you can move the pocket more, and you can do more things that disguise other things to help you make the offense a lot more, give it a lot more depth, a lot more layers to the offense.
Especially with a line that's really beat up before this season.
And especially with a lot of weapons that do good on the move. You keep these guys moving around. Brock Bowers is the guy that's going to be all over the freaking place. We saw what we can do with Davante Adams. He's the best slot guy when you put him in the slot. He's the best outside guy when you put him on the outside. You saw what Jacoby Myers can do. You see what Trey Tucker did in the preseason. Like, you have guys that if you confuse the defenses with motion, and then you move the quarterback around, you just change the angles, you can do a lot more with what I think Luke Getsy wants to do with Gardner Minshew. Because of that, the offense can be much better than just a drop back guy, play action, turn your back to the defense type of a guy. So the potential is there to have a much more explosive offense, very similar to what we had when Rich Gannon came, which was boots, rollouts, some scrambles, extending plays, stuff like that. So I just think we need to take a look at this from a wider lens, because it's not going to be the same putting one guy in and plucking another guy out. The team is going to look different with each one of those different quarterbacks.
As it should. If Getsy does the exact same thing for both guys,
he needs to be fired.
Get out of here.
You shouldn't do that.
But that makes the second part kind of sticky too, because the other good part of this is if Minshew flames out, right? The situation is just not good for him. Barva's right there, right? That was the offense, gotten first team reps, more prepared this season to play than he was last season. Whether he plays better or not, again, we'll find out. But Minshew should look over his shoulder, like he's the QB1. He's starting week 1. Don't get comfy though, Gardner. You gotta deliver now. You won the job. You got paid. Congratulations. We're behind you. But so is Farva. Now it's time to deliver.
Yeah, we're behind you, but Farva is also behind you.
Yeah. Did you see this flag football player clapping at Patrick Mahomes? I'm not even look up his name.
I saw it. I just didn't want to look at it.
At the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. So with flag football, is it definitely an Olympic sport in 2028, or is it like
how is flag football a sport and Muay Thai hundreds of years old? Combat sport is not in the Olympics. Because
the Olympics hate combat sports and they love backyard barbecue games. Like they bastardized judo. Judo used to have leg locks and like big slams. It used to be a fight. Now it's just like, no leg locks, nice and easy. We want girls to be able to watch this. We want housewives to watch this with their mimosas and think it's fun and cute. We don't want anyone getting hurt.
Dude, they started allowing awarding points for breaking the hands in wrestling. It's like, wait a second. Like,
when they tried to get rid of it 8 years ago. They tried to get rid of wrestling. Like the original Olympic sport. Like you think of Olympics, what do you think of? Track and field, wrestling. They're like, no, we're gonna get rid of it. The Olympic committee's dog shit. Anyway.
Yeah, but breakdancing and kayaking, that's good.
Yeah. At least breakdancing got to embarrass itself and completely eliminated himself.
So
again.
okay, I've had this conversation because I am a little salty. Okay, I do work and I help run a Muay Thai gym, and the Muay Thai is just getting passed over and over and over.
Yeah.
But they let breakdancing in, right? Breakdancing into my cousin's wife is a former professional dancer, like break dancer, can spit on her head and everything. She toured with a bunch of people, right?
Mm.
And I just kind of give her little jabs here and there. Like I send her that freaking picture of that Australian, breakdancing chick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, pretty good. And she was like just clapping back a little bit, but it was pretty funny. It's like you can tell like the validity of a sport not by their best guys, but by the worst ones. So if the worst ones are still pretty good, like fucking A, right? It's a pretty good sport. Even the guys that are in last are pretty good.
Yeah,
but these guys are just not good.
I'm glad that breakdancing was in the Olympics just for the memes. Just to like make a farce of what a farce the Olympic Committee is. The best meme I saw of that was it was a picture of the chick, Ray Gunn, whatever her name was, and the dude's like, the caption's like, "I've been to Australia. That is literally their best answer."
What did Shane Gillis say? It's like, dude, there's no black people in Australia, but you need black people, dude. You can't have a bunch of white people walking around like they're the coolest people on earth.
His bit is so good. He's just like,
so freaking good.
Why do you think the only good white guys in the NBA are from Europe? Because the audacity for these guys to think that they can play in this league. You knew they grew up without black guys. Every guy in America, by 8th grade, they saw a black guy dunk, and they're like, all right, I'm going to play baseball.
I'm going to set some picks, whatever.
I'm going to go real hard in the paint,
We'll take a box out.
You need black guys to keep the white guys in check. Otherwise, you get an island full of Colin McGregors.
Yeah, that was really good. Really good bit, dude. Super
bit.
Funny. Shane Gillis, if you want to come on the show, you got to open an invite.
Yeah, we have to work around our schedule. We'll even talk about the
Eagles this year if you want.
Yeah, you're going to have to work around our schedule. Not just anyone can come on, but, we might fit you in sometime. Bye week, maybe. We're that important. Anyway, this flag football guy's like, oh, yeah, because if the flag football is in the Olympics, it's going to just be all NFL players. You know what I mean? It's just going to be like guys that want, our best are going to go out there. And so this dude's like shaking in his boots. He's like 140. He's like 140 pounds. So he's like, shit. I've been working like all this time to go to the Olympics, and then they're just going to take my job because I don't deserve it. So he said, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. And there's this gif, me, the 50 Cent gif, me. So I feel like there's only one way to solve this, Soto. Patrick Mahomes has to quit the NFL and take this guy's spot on the Flag Football League. If Patrick Mahomes, it's the only way. If Patrick Mahomes was a real man, he wouldn't let this punk bash him like that. He would put him in his place. And the only way to do that is
for your country. Patrick Mahomes.
If you're an American and a man with 2 balls and a dick, you quit the NFL forever and you take this guy's spot on the Olympics. And then, and only then, will I consider you a real man and a patriot. Otherwise, you're just living a lie. Probably a terrorist, to be honest. To not go to the Olympics and represent his country,
dude,
that's Al-Qaeda behavior.
I can picture it. Patrick Mahomes in the Olympics. He throws a touchdown pass to get the gold medal. He gets up to the podium. He gets the gold medal, and he's like, "I'm here. I'm here.
On top of the podium. I'm here. Look at me. Look at this gold." Yeah, man. With the Chiefs. So the last preseason game coming up on Friday. I'll actually be able to watch and do a live show with you. Work's not kicking me in the dick for once. Antonio Pierce said no starters will play at all Friday. Not one of them. Is there anyone you do want to see? Any starters you think should get in there? Or you're like, look, we're 2 weeks away. Don't even flirt with it. The reps don't matter. No one do it.
I don't think so, because I think everybody who's starting has their job pretty much locked up. Mm-hmm. We do need to see. Well, yeah, that's my answer. I mean, there's no position battles anymore. We talked about this earlier. There's some backup battles that we can see. I want to see more of Dylan Laube. I want to see him, run some routes, maybe out of the slot. I want to see what he can do.
Right tackle turned into a position battle a little bit.
Delmar Glaze, dude. I was surprised that he was picked where he was.
Yeah.
Like, god damn, he can play, dude.
Mumford got hurt, and Glaze
went in there, fucking pancaked the dude. Good. Okay, all right.
Played pretty good.
You got some.
It's not a position battle I expected. I thought, all right, line's set. We're set on line. Glaze came in, got it. You got to take advantage of your opportunities, man.
It's so weird that like people grade drafts like right after the draft. Like, wait, what? What? How do you know? How do you know what's going on? Woo Governor is like with the second team in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has a pretty. I was trying to find it. He has a pretty kick-ass regular name, like regular first name, but he wants to go by Woo, so everyone just calls him Woo, and that like I can't even find his real name.
It's like Shogun Hua.
Yeah, right. Everyone just called him Shogun instead of Mauricio.
No one knows his name's Mauricio. Jacorian Bennett, I'd like to see a little bit more out of.
He locked up the freaking starting job, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. I agree, but I think a series would be fine. But other than that, like the right tackle position battle, maybe a little bit more. Jacorian only because he like kind of just grabbed it, still young. More or less, I think
the backup line, the third linebacker job is up there, so you can see Masterson and Eichenberg out there, and you can battle them out with Amari Burney and a couple other guys that have been playing linebacker.
Yeah,
that's going to be a tight race. There's going to be a tight race for the third edge rusher, the guy that basically is going to sub in with Malcolm Kuntz because Crosby doesn't get off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I think that it would behoove the Raiders to play Tyree Wilson at tackle more to see if he plays better there.
He should play a whole half. Like, and I think he will. I think he will play because he's not a starter. So there's no like rule that he can't play. Right? He's not starting. So
play him on the inside for the second. I mean, play him in like with the scrubs, but
play a lot of both. The guy needs every single rep he can get. Man. Dude. We were in our DMs, earlier today, looking at Tyree.
That's how lonely we are. We slide into each other's DMs
constantly. There's three of us. Rory too. It's a threesome in there.
Rory's in Italy right now. What a jerk.
Menage DM. Like there's just like one video of him like losing contain so easy, and it's just like that's like.
Oh yeah, dude! I freaking lost my shit.
On top of just like no move but a bull rush, just so ineffective. It's like that guy should play all four quarters. That guy needs reps.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be anywhere in space. He doesn't need to be anywhere in space. He needs to be on the inside where he can use his length against the shorter arm guards and center, and he can use his bull rush to push the pocket back into the quarterback because he hasn't shown he can do anything else.
I think out of respect, AP's not going to play Aidan at all, but I think Aidan could use reps in the system when you're the backup, so it's like injury isn't as big of an issue as your starter. Like you get some more reps in this new system. Like I think he could use some more reps. But yeah, as far as like, and Tyree and Aidan aren't starters, so maybe they will get some. I don't know.
I mean, are you keeping 4 receivers? Are you keeping 5 receivers? I mean, there's a battle.
That's the main
battle on the outside for sure.
Yeah.
There's a battle of young guys out there, and it's good because they're good players. There's also that battle for those last spots in the secondary. There's Richardson's out there, and then there's what's the other guy's name?
Well,
Devin Shire.
AP said today, we're recording this Wednesday night, said today that we thought it was more or less a lock. DJ Turner's for sure a lock to make the team. That was
There's 4.
We thought for sure that more or less that was the case, but now what do you do?
Like 5? Are you keeping 4? Are you keeping 5? Are you keeping 6? How many receivers are you keeping?
Do you keep 6 when we're going to be in a 2 tight end set most of the time, right? Like
true.
Now do we keep 4 tight ends, 5 tight ends because we're going to be in 2 tight end set all the time? Like
it's weird.
We probably won't keep 5, but something to think about.
What has never left my mind? It's always been just kind of like ticking back there. When the entire group said that Fotheringham was Travis Kelce without the freaking like style, without the Riz.
Mm-hmm.
Like he plays like he's Travis Kelce, like in practice.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be weird to see him play a little bit more, just kind of like see what he can do. I'm sure he could do well.
I mean, he's got to beat out Harrison Bryant.
I think
Or
we're
even
going
the
to
four.
I honestly think we're going to keep 5 receivers and 4 tight ends.
But then you got to ask ourselves, with 3 starting linemen potentially not playing week 1, you got to have a lot more backups at lines. That's going to eat up some roster spots too.
One thing we're not taking into account is if we, like in years past, where we had Johnson at fullback and 3 tight ends, whether we're not going to have a fullback and 4 tight ends, same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's one spot, right? Brock
So
Bowers is our tight end.
that's going to wash out because those guys are going to play tight end, or excuse me, those guys are going to play fullback position. What else? The safeties are pretty set. Smith, Polamalu as the backups. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the backups there.
So it's the big questions are how many receivers, how many tight ends. I think the biggest one is how many linemen.
How many interior defensive linemen are we going to carry? Which ones are we going to carry? Byron needs to go somewhere, bro. He needs to go somewhere.
To defensive line camp. Defensive line school. That's where he needs to go. Ready to do some What Up Windbags?
I sure am.
Ricky, 3560. So Ricky has been stalking us all week. On multiple videos, he left the same comment. He DM'd us on Facebook. I think he was outside of my window earlier this afternoon with a sign up. So, of course, we're going to get to your question.
It wasn't what you thought, Ricky. He had an itch.
What's up, guys? I always leave those curtains open for a reason. What up, guys? Why is Tommy Eichenberg not playing? And I can't believe I just hadn't noticed that he hadn't been playing.
I don't know.
I was like, no, I'm sure he's been playing. Like, looked it up and was like,
nope.
Hasn't done shit. Like, there was no word of an injury. There was no report of him missing practice, just not seeing the field at all. There's no way they're like, oh, he's just so shitty, we're not going to play him, we're just going to cut him. Like, that's not the case whatsoever.
No, not
if we don't see him at all on Friday, that's my number one question Friday. I didn't think about it.
Where is he?
Where is he? How much is he playing? Does he start? Does he play at the very end? Like, what the hell's going on with our linebacker from Ohio State? For the position he was drafted in, I was like, oh, I like this. I'm pretty stoked on Tommy.
And we heard good things about him, so I don't know.
So to answer your question, we don't know, but now we're paying attention. Sam Demand, thank you so much for being a member. Juanito, I think we're in trouble. At least we'll be able to pick a quarterback in the top 4 next year. Boy, Sam just overly optimistic about our chances this season. Slow it down. Don't pick the parade date quite yet, Sam. Don't dust off that part on your mantle for the Lombardi quite yet, Sam. But hey, I mean, like I said, not a lot of sexiness about the quarterback situation.
I'm not going to say that he's wrong, that we're not going to get the top 4 pick. But there's a lot more reason for optimism that we outlined earlier in the show about Gardner Minshew than people are giving him credit for. I don't think that and again, that's not their job. That's not like they don't have a show. They don't, write for anyone or anything. So it's not their job to look into these numbers the way you and I do and other people do. Who freaking jerk. What a dick. My cat sits right in front of the fan and just sits there with his face up, hitting the fans, hitting his face. He's blocking all the freaking air. It's so hot tonight.
Just blowing like.
Now I feel like he moves an automatic.
Cat balls air at you. Just spreads his legs, let it shoot right at you.
But yeah, I understand why people feel that way, and I get it. But it didn't take me that long to put together like a pathway to how we can be successful. That's why I get so irritated when people just kind of like, he sucks.
Look, it's political season, right? We're gonna elect a new president, like 8 weeks, whatever.
You better
right?
have a gun, bro, because I don't know whoever wins, the other side's gonna be freaking ready to pop off.
Well, it's like, look, whoever, right? Like it's campaign season. Humans are emotional creatures, right? Every single political ad you see, is it Trump being like, with a chart, here's how the exact things I'm going to do to fix the economy? Is it Kamala being like, here's exactly all the policies I'm going to instill in the Middle East to maintain our interest and maintain peace? No, it's simply applying to your emotion. Vote for me because the other side's evil. Vote for me because the other side's weird. Vote for me because the other, like, it's just like pure hyperbole and emotion. That's what gets us going, is emotion, right? We're emotional creatures. We like to tell ourselves we're factual and logical and make decisions based on the data. We're emotional creatures. Nothing about our quarterback situation stirs emotion. You don't get jacked for Gardner Minshew. You dig deep into the numbers and you go, we're better off than we thought. You dig into the numbers and say, if we have to pivot, we're out. We can immediately try something else at no risk to us, which is better than a lot of other quarterback situations in the NFL. But you don't get, it doesn't like swell your loins with blood, our quarterback situation. So I understand. I totally get.
I get it.
Outside people and Raider fans that are just like, I'm not excited. I don't think we're going to do well. I get it. There's not an emotional stir that happens with their quarterback situation. It's very true. Very fair. Mac BHD1. Again, thank you for being a member. We appreciate you. Apparently, it was AP, the OC, and GM who made the choice. The best case was mixing them both into one quarterback. AOC's pocket passing and Minshew's escapability. But hey, how we got to get behind the quarterback. It's still a mustache that's starting. Big laughing. I'm not going to go into specifics about each guy as we all have our opinions. I thought the trade, Davante Adams stuff was finished, but some still put this out. Why the hate? Our O is loaded, so stop. The vaulted D needs to step up in the run game. For sure, I'm liking the DBs. If it all goes to rat shit, we always got more pussy from Belushi Soto to keep us entertained. I think the Davante Adams trade stuff is, if we start off like 1-5, get ready for it. Get ready for that talk to be the main form of conversation around everything Raiders.
Yeah, 100%. And and like you said, it's definitely that like first quarter-ish of the season. And it's not just if we're losing, but if we're losing and we're not looking good offensively, yeah, it's gonna be rough. And it's the conversation is a conversation that has to be had. You don't have to make a decision right away, but you have to have the conversation because you have an aging, appreciating asset that's going to be paid more money next year and the following year if we keep him. What do you want to do with that? Considering with him, you're not that great. You need to move forward. So again, we don't have to have the decision made after week 4, but if it doesn't start off well for us, it's something that needs to be talked about.
And something's got to happen with Davante's contract next season anyway, because he's in the funny money part of his contract. He's like a $40 million hitter. Like it's
if
some
he
crazy.
Sticks around, you gotta.
Something's changed. Yeah, it's like it's getting extended, changed, worked out. Like it's not. Something happens after this season or mid-season, no matter what. So whether it's a trade or extension or, although man, like if we are so awful, we get like a top 4 pick. Fuck, man, I really want Davante Adams to be catching those passes from that rookie. Like that would be.
You gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
That contract, because there's no way we're gonna keep him with that contract. We guys gotta get a different contract.
That contract's getting ripped apart.
Redone.
If not before the season's over. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back on Friday after the Raiders' final preseason game. Hopefully we'll get an idea on who quarterbacks figured out, starters basically figured out, minus kind of right tackle. That's pretty much, other than that, all the starters are pretty much figured out. How many receivers are we going to keep? How much offensive line depth do we need, depending on the injuries of the old line, tight ends. Hopefully we'll get some big answers after Friday's game. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.